Okay, we've reached 12 noon, and Zalmay, are you in the room and such? But I'm hoping that Zalmay Niazi is here. He's one of our panelists. Turn your camera on if you are. But we will go ahead and get started. Okay. I love to see how many people are coming in. This is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Iowa City Foreign Relations Program with guest speakers Elizabeth Bernal, Ines Pasuvic-Jasarovich, Rex Malamba, and Zalmay Niazi. Thanks to each of them and to everyone who has joined us online today. I am Peter Gerlach, Program Director for our new program series on refugees and immigrants in Iowa. I am a member of Icfrc's board, and I'll be your host for today's program. We are grateful to Humanities Iowa and the National Endowment for the Humanities for their funding support for this project. We would also like to acknowledge and thank our other annual donors, sponsors, and partners for their support. The Iowa Arts Council through the Iowa Department of Cultural Affairs, the University of Iowa's International Programs, Honors Program, Public Policy Center, and Center for Human Rights, the Stanley UI Foundation Support Organization, Midwest One Bank, City Channel 4 for its support in live streaming our in-person programs and for providing access to all of Icfrc's programs along with the UI Library Archives. We want to thank all of our members and friends who have made gifts to support this program series. In particular, we would like to acknowledge Jean Lloyd Jones, David Wu, Karen and Wallace Chappell, Tice Winkleblack, Ken and Alice Atkinson, Joyce Carmen Baldus, and Jean Carteret. Icfrc has adopted the Native American Land Acknowledgement, prepared for the City of Iowa City's Ad Hoc Truth and Reconciliation Commission and Human Rights Commission. We recognize that our home community of Iowa City, quote, now occupies the homelands of Native American nations to whom we owe our commitment and dedication, end quote. The full text of our acknowledgement is on our website at icfrc.org. As we get started, I would like to cover some Zoom etiquette tips. You've heard these many times in many places, I'm sure. So this is the time to make sure where your video and audio mute and unmute buttons are. So please keep your audio and video turned off for the duration of the presentation so you don't interrupt the speakers during their remarks. Following our speakers' presentations at about 1:15, we'll have about a 15-minute Q&A. You'll be able to submit your questions via the chat function. And at that time, we do invite you to turn on your video, but please keep your audio muted to avoid any background noise. It is now my pleasure to introduce our speakers, who will talk about life in Iowa as a refugee and immigrant. First, Elizabeth Bernal. She lives in Iowa City, where she is involved with multiple community organizations that promote inclusion and well-being for immigrant communities. She is co-founder of Open Heartland, a nonprofit serving families in 5 mobile home communities in Johnson County, whose residents are mainly Hispanic immigrants. Elizabeth is also a founding member of the board of directors of the Eastern Iowa Community Bond Project, a local community organization that pays immigration bond for incarcerated Iowa immigrants who cannot afford their immigration bond. Elizabeth also serves on the board of the Center for Worker Justice of Eastern Iowa. And last October, she was awarded the Rick Graff Award from the Iowa City Human Rights Commission. Ines Pasuvic-Jasarovich is a refugee specialist for the Bureau of Refugee Services in Des Moines, where she has worked for 26 years. Before that, she worked for Interchurch Refugee and Immigration Services in Chicago. She provides various services targeted to prepare clients for employment and education goals. She was born and raised in Šibenik, Croatia, and graduated from the University of Sarajevo in Bosnia, and I always get this wrong, Herzegovina in 1988 with a degree in teaching. There she met some student James, a young Bosnian mathematician and computer programmer. Coming from two different backgrounds, Ines as Croatian Catholic and Samsudin as Bosnian Muslim, was not a highly accepted relationship. They married anyway and had a daughter, Sunčica. Due to the conflict in former Yugoslavia, Ines and Sunčica had to flee Bosnia in early 1992 and started a refugee journey through different locations in Croatia and resettled in Chicago in December of 1993. James reunited with them on Valentine's Day in 1995. Rex Malamba is an employment services case manager at Catherine McCauley Center in Cedar Rapids. Born in and originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo, Rex arrived in the United States in the state of Iowa in August 2013. Rex has a bachelor's degree in computer science, telecommunication, and network administration from the DRC. After he completed the English program at Kirkwood Community College, he obtained an IT certificate and an associate degree in network and system administration at the same institution. Today, Rex works as an employment services case manager, where he attends daily work to settle and integrate refugees from all of the world into Cedar Rapids and the community there in Iowa. Finally, Zalmay Niaze was born in a rural village in the Orozgan province of Afghanistan. He learned to speak fluent English at the age of 13 and later worked as an interpreter for several branches of the United States Armed Forces upon graduating from high school. Mr. Niaze has a bachelor's degree in business administration from Cardin University in Kabul, and he has worked for different national and international organizations, including Titan Linguistics, Red Orange International, and Kabyle General Supplies. He moved to Iowa in the United States in 2015, and based on the community desire, decided to establish a small business, Z's Handyman Services LLC, which he now owns and operates in Iowa Falls. Please join me in welcoming Elizabeth, Ines, Rex, and Zalmay. Greetings to you all. How are you each doing today? Rex, Elizabeth, Ines, how are you?
Great, thank you.
Thank you, I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
And I don't know if, Elizabeth, yeah, you can turn your camera on. And I don't know if Zalmay is in the room. We expect him to be here, but I've not yet seen him. Just Zalmay, if you're here, do turn on your camera. Oh, there you are. You are here. Fabulous. Hello. You're on mute. So if you'd hit your unmute button, then we can hear you. It's in your bottom. Yep, there we go.
Yes, here I am.
Hello, how are you?
Everybody?
Very good.
Good. How are you, Mr. Peter?
Good. I'm fabulous.
Good.
Fabulous. Being here with all of you, I'm in such a great mood. Okay, you've all heard me speak quite a bit. So let's turn to our fabulous panelists. And I'd like to begin with an easy question. I've shared your bios, of course, but there are details that are missing, and I'm wondering what parts of your stories you'd like to share with us. So in a few sentences, would you share your migration story to Iowa? What more would you like to tell us? Maybe Rex, could I start with you?
Yes. So my name is Rex, and I'd like to say here that I arrived in Iowa in 2013, August 2013. And the first thing was the winter that came up in 2014. It was so cold. And then I remember leaving a package of water in my trunk, and then the next morning it was frozen. I told my wife I need to go back to Congo. I can't stay in this country or I will die. But it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all. I came here as an immigrant. The main reason was school. So I brought my wife and my son. He was only 9 months. So we went through that fight till now. I went to school. I tried to do my best. Still learning English still today. So so I finished. I had my associate degree from Kirkwood. I work for System Unlimited. Now I'm working for Catherine Macaulay Center. And in the middle of that, I was also able to create my company, which is called World Development LLC. We are trying to do several things, but the main thing is we are putting African vegetable in jars, and we're selling them right now all over the United States. So that's pretty much me, in a simple words.
Yeah, that's fabulous, Rex. Would you mind if you're able to put the website for your organization into the chat?
Yes, I will. Yeah.
Great, great. Next, Zalmay, I'll ask you the same question. In a few sentences, however long you'd like. Would you share your own migration story to Iowa? What more would you like to tell us than what I read in your bio?
As Mr. Rex said that I came to Iowa in winter too. It was quite different, and the weather was extremely cold, and I came from Washington, D.C. It was totally a different area than Iowa. And when my cousin that lived here in Iowa Falls, he picked me up from the airport, and I didn't know where is he going to take me, because it's not the America I have seen or I have saw on the TVs, Like for that 1 month that I was in Washington, D.C., I thought the whole country is going to be like that. And that was quite different for me. And then when I came here to Iowa, it was extremely hard. I didn't know anybody, and it's a small town, and you're just stick up everywhere, and people can notice somebody new in the community and in the area. And it didn't take me long to get to introduce to friends and peoples, and now I know everybody and everybody knows me, and I have my adopted families that we share good times and good memories, and I've been very lucky living in Iowa, and it's been calm and Iowanized, and it's been proven to everybody now.
Wonderful. Thank you, Zalmay.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Elizabeth, I'll turn next to you the same question. Would you share your migration story to Iowa?
Yes, thank you, Peter. But I think my video is not working
Uh-oh.
because the host has disabled it.
Oh,
So
I'm the host. I don't remember disabling your video.
no, that
Okay. Well, Zoom Life, we'll push on, and if we're able to clear that up, we absolutely will.
no, that's fine. I can just share. Well,
yeah.
first, my name is Elizabeth Bernal, and I'm original from Mexico City. I arrived to United States when I was 18 years old, and I think we have the same winter story. It's very cold. Coming from Mexico, I moved in Iowa City when it's a winter time in 2003. But I was living in California for 9 years old, so it was big difference winter in Iowa. And I think when I moved here in Iowa, I was very afraid to ask for support because my legal status, I came as an immigrant. So it was very different rules and culture and everything for me. So it was kind of like a shock to come to United States, knowing what is going to be expecting. And I just moved because of the poverty in my country was very bad. So my first baby, because we didn't have a job, money, so died. And because I didn't able to attend to the doctor. So for my second pregnancy, I decided to just move to the city, but this was very difficult for money. So I kind of like just running away from what, get a better life. So as immigrant, moving to Iowa, it was very difficult. So I've been learning a lot in Iowa because we got, as immigrant, we got a lot of barriers in Iowa. So that's kind of how I'm here, but I've been moving forward. In 2007, I got my GED. So it's been a pleasure to be in Iowa, the community. I found out that when I learned the language, it's a very welcome community. So I'm glad that I'm here in Iowa, and thank you for all the support for all those organizations that we have in Iowa.
Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, your stories are all very different, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about the Iowa winter, which we're all feeling currently. But before we do, Ines, to you, would you share your migration story with us?
Yes, of course. As you mentioned before from my bio, I was born and raised in Croatia, got married in Bosnia, experienced war in Bosnia, flee to Croatia and moved several times looking for a quiet place, just outside of war borders, which I did found on one of the islands of Croatia. And then in summer of 1992, 1993, I did hear about the resettlement program to United States and decided to apply. And I was accepted, and I arrived to Chicago in December of 1993, again in winter, like most of us. There is something about winter and arriving here. So yeah, it was quite experience. I was one of the lucky ones to have a family sponsor that was my uncle, who take me and my daughter in their home and helped us throughout the process of allowed me to learn some English, get my first job. And after my husband joined us after 3 years of separation in Valentine's Days of 1995, he got the job. He wasn't doing very well in Chicago. So I started to look for a better place for us. And I did find it here in Des Moines, Iowa. And somebody mentioned Iowa nice, and that is a true thing. I'm more than grateful for all the agencies and people who helped me in Chicago, but I find the life in Iowa much easier and more quiet and more refugee friendly. So yeah, that's something that I experienced.
Fabulous. And being that you're in Des Moines, Ines, makes me think a lot about this article that I share with my students. But I think everyone here in the room would be interested in it as well, from IPR. Do check it out if you have a moment. Basically talking about the ways in which the Midwest is a rather desirable place for many reasons, such as those that Ines mentioned, to start life in the United States, or in many cases, Iowa is a desirable secondary migration location. By which we mean, for example, as what Zalmai put, he started in Washington, D.C., or Enos's husband in Chicago, and then came to another place, secondary migration. So it's a popular location for that as well. So do read that article. It's a good one. So yeah, I want to change directions a little bit, but build off on what you each shared. You came to the United States from very different circumstances, and truly from very different parts of the world. So I wonder, maybe you could share with us a little how the experience of moving to Iowa how it differs from people from different walks of life. So here I'm thinking about what are some of the differences between being a refugee, being an immigrant, being documented or undocumented, having familial or friendship ties and not having those ties. What are some of the differences? Maybe Ines, could I start with you with this question? As you are at the Bureau of Refugee Services, and you sort of in some ways have a broader scope on this.
As I mentioned before, I was the lucky one to have a family sponsor who helped me with all the first days in the United States. It is really crucial to have people who will support you. So here in Bureau of Refugee Services, we are trying to help and be the one who will support our new arrivals through all the parts of their assimilation to this new society. And it is quite different if you have support or if you come as an immigrant and you have limited support. It makes a huge difference. I mean, just understanding the things around you, having somebody to help you with transportation, having somebody to guide you through the whole process of applying, just having access to benefits is huge. I mean, if you are able to have access to public assistance, to Medicaid, it's crucial. We need to remember that a lot of immigrants do not have access to those and do not have all the support systems. So we are here to help. And as a person who works for the Bureau of Refugee Services, we try our best to be their sponsors, their voice in the whole process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wonder, Elizabeth, if you could speak to this question for a moment. Your experience was much different. And you mentioned being in California for a longer period of time. I wonder, in your own experience as an individual, separate from some of the work that you've been doing, what do you think? How is the experience of moving to Iowa different for new folks, for new Iowans, depending on, let's call it, their status?
Well, moving from my country to California, it was not a big difference because the language is the first barrier that I found out for myself. But in California, a lot of people speak Spanish. But moving from California to Iowa, it's where it's kind of became more difficult for me and my family because we don't have like people that support. It's to us to give the community resources, to give information about what it's going on in here in Iowa. Of course, the language is kind of like the biggest barriers for all refugees and immigrants who are coming in new in this community, because how they can able to communicate if they don't have the language, how they can express themselves. And it's very kind of like scary even for us for something, because they don't know the language. And that's kind of, and when I think for my own experience, people who willing to give the support to other people and the language, make sure like if you don't understand, I found out myself, people didn't understand, I didn't understand English, but we able to communicate some way. Like even I know they try to help me and they know that I need some help. So that's was our path. It's very scary to be in a place that you don't know if they are welcoming you or if they talking to you, what they saying. So it's a lot of points that people experience. So, but support and language is the biggest issue that we come and confront here, because we don't know nobody. Some people, myself, it's as many other people that they arrive in Iowa, they don't have any family ties, so they don't have no support at all to that. So it's depend, if they have kids, depend of the in the school district, if they don't have kids, it depends on organization, how welcoming to them, and how if they feel safe in the community area, they able to communicate. And if they have somebody who speak their own language, that it's big deal for people, that they can able to help them, and they can able to feel welcome in the community. I think that's the big just find a way, easy way to go, keeping going in life. That's I think it's they we come from different issues, and they brought here in the United States because we feel safe. But at the same time, we question a lot, like it's actually safety here when you came and in another place that you don't know the language. So it is a big change, and come out with a lot of stuff going, and you have to just thinking positive and keeping going.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, you're right. I mean, it's important to understand these differences in statuses and what it means for an individual, what it means for a family when they first arrive, what supports are there. And we'll talk in a little bit about organizations, some of which all of you are working for, and what you see with those organizations and how they're able to support folks. Zalme, am I correct that you came to the United States on an SIV, a special immigrant visa?
Yes, sir. I had an opportunity to get an SIV, but I was very involved in my daily life back in Afghanistan, that I knew that I will be able to be a good asset to my country, and just did so many different work with different organizations, but they were all for like educational purposes. For those organizations that they were in the country, it was mostly education and infrastructure teams and stuff. And I didn't had that intention that to leave my country, and I was working with them and stuff like that. In 2014, I was honored to attend the conference in Washington D.C. that was it was a matchmaking business conference between the organization that I have worked for, and they assigned me, or they accepted me to be their representative, and we were just trying to gather different ways and process and strategies for attracting more businesses and peoples that to do infrastructure things in Afghanistan. As I had the background of being an interpreter with the coalition forces, I was witness of so many different attacks and harms to myself and my family. Due to the involvement with the U.S. troops, I had an uncle that got kidnapped by the Taliban and got murdered, and I got shot plenty times in arms and shoulders, and I was about to lose an eye. But nothing has stopped me and helping my country and my people. I attended this conference, and the day I got here and we were ready for the conference, I was in the media and had some achievements, and I shared it with some local TVs or stuff like that that was there, and that went against me, and they got back to the Taliban that before I was only an interpreter, and now I'm going to be a US spy for the United States and destroy Afghanistan. And I had enough of it, and I was like, I can't change their mind, and my family was in priority too, and I couldn't like I didn't wanted them to go through anymore because of me. And while I was here, I said I want to stay in the country. Like if I had any intention of staying, coming to United States, I would have applied for SIV or so many other things that I was eligible for, and I was able to do, but I didn't, and I didn't want it either. So when I came here and it just turned upside down and everything was very harsh, and I decided to stay in the country, and I applied for a political asylum. And for a while, I have stayed in Washington, D.C. And then I moved to Iowa, Falls, Iowa, where my cousin lived, and I decided to start my new and an enjoyable life here in Iowa. But I am still in an asylee status, and I haven't gotten anywhere with my legal documents, but it's in process, and it's a long story, as you know better.
Yeah, sure. Yes, and your circumstances are very particular too. I think what a lot of people in this country are seeing now with many Afghans who have fled your country. I wonder if you would share with us a little bit about what it was like to move to Iowa Falls as an individual. It's a small town, and being somebody who is, mostly on your own and having to figure it out. What was that like?
It was like I said, that I was at the very young age, I was very successful in life, and I had everything very easy for myself in Afghanistan, and I had to leave everything, and everything has been left behind, and I have started my life in Iowa with nothing. And if I say 000, that's even less. And I came here with just a shirt and a bag that I had, because my intentions was staying in the country for 3 days and getting back to Afghanistan, and which we know better that it is way expensive ways of life, and expenses are way higher in the United States than Afghanistan. Like a school teacher make $100 in Afghanistan in a month, and they can support their family and live off. But here you can't stay alive for a day with $100 here, and especially if you're just a newcomer here. But anyways, it was some very hard and sad days that I had in Iowa, and everything was new, and I went through some very tough times. And it was I didn't had any legal documents, and I couldn't work, and I couldn't do anything legally. Like, there was some options of being working under the table, but you still have to prove some papers and documents for the employer that to get you hired and for the job. But it was a very rough road, and luckily, thankfully, by the help of many of my friends, and they got me they got me into the right doors, and that's how I got to hire the right lawyers, and became somebody that the community support and welcome, and able to live among them without any discrimination or any other problem. So
Yeah, you might be a shining example of what some folks mean when they say Iowa nice. Your community really rallied around you, didn't they?
yes, like I said, that I've been very lucky, and it's a small town. Our population is about 5,000 people, and if I say 4,900 of them know me, who I am, and where I am from, and how did I get here, and what were the ways, and what were the obstacles that I had to go through that to get to the point that where I am. And I am a great example for the young generation in town and in the community. I go to the schools and gatherings, and I explain to them about what's an American dream, who I am, how did I started my new life, and what can be done in America, and what are the loops that you have to go through to become successful in life. It doesn't matter where you are. If you're alive, and if you're healthy, and if you are somebody that can help your family in any part of the world, that matters. And just be who you are.
Yeah. Speaking of community and thinking about what we can all do for one another, we have a good number of people in our audience today, which really warms my heart. And so Rex, I'd like to turn to you, both as you see this as an individual, and also partly in your work with the Catherine McCauley Center. What would you say Iowans, so folks who are born and raised in this state or elsewhere in the US, should know about their international neighbors? And I'm thinking both of folks who have just moved here. We've touched maybe more so on the, the brand new experience of come here, but I'm also thinking right now about folks who have been here a longer period of time. What would you tell folks here about, things that folks born and raised in the US should really know? And maybe one way to make more specific that question is, what are you seeing, and what have you experienced yourself also, as being some of the main challenges? We'll also talk about opportunities and joys, but what have you seen as some of the main challenges faced by folks that you're working with, and maybe thinking about your own experience?
Yeah, so as Ines and Elizabeth said, it's a very challenging situation when people, they have to move to a country that they don't know the language, they don't have support, they don't have resources, they don't know where to go. I mean, it's difficult. For myself, I can say at 25 years, I was second manager of a construction company in Congo, and life is economically saying it's cheap than in the United States. You can have like 1,200 a month. It's a lot of money in Congo. You can pay your rent, you can, pay your bills, you can save some money because, I had an apartment of 3-bedroom. I was paying 200 a month in Congo. And when I come to United States, I have an apartment of 2-bedroom and I was paying $700. That is a huge change for a lot of immigrants. So for folks that are born here, they need to know just the difference between immigration status. We have refugees, we have immigrant, we have migrant, and then immigrant is people that they have I can say a strong desire to move from the country to another country. So they decide themselves they want to move to another country, so maybe to have a better life. But refugees, it's totally different, because refugees is the people that they were forced to move from the country to another country. Sometimes some refugees spend more than 10 years in refugees camp in other countries before they pick them up. I mean, they're not choosing to move to US, to France, or to other developing countries, but they just, United States is asking the UNHCR to, if they can send a couple people in the United States. And then sometimes they don't even know where they're going, in which state they will be. So when they come here, they still refugees for lifetime, It's the people that they didn't want to come here. They want maybe to stay in the country and take care of the business, but they were forced to come, to leave the country and then maybe sent to another country. So we need to understand that those people, they need support. They don't have resources. They don't speak the language, and then it's hard for everything. Like a couple of days ago, I went to see one of my clients. It was very cold, and she didn't have even shoes. She had only sandals, and then I told her, you cannot wear this in the winter, so it's just difficult to, for other people to understand. And then the other side, we have like the economic situation, that there is other companies that they need people to work for them. And then they see those refugees as resources, as employees that they can hide in the companies. But there is some other people, they don't really understand that. You know, I have questions like, why these immigrants are coming here? Why they choose Iowa? What they doing here, you know? So for the person that doesn't have any company, doesn't need anybody to work for him, for your immigrants or refugees is just people that's coming into Iowa and then they're looking to get the jobs, and then that's why they think, that's the way they're thinking. But the economy is growing. When we have more people, then we have more business. We have more people, then Walmart's come to open the business in your area. And then it's not easy. In the audience, I have one of my teacher who saw me when I just arrived, with Miss Ryan Denner at Kirkwood. So it wasn't easy. I was talking to him most of the time, asking questions. My English was my fifth language I was learning, but it wasn't easy. At some point, I even decided to go back because I can say I had a better life in Congo, and then I'm like, okay, let's stay, let's see how things goes. So now I'm American citizen, but things are still, you know, not easy, you know, to put together. So.
Yeah, I really appreciate the really sort of, you know, complicated, complex landscape that you just described there, right? I mean, there's so much going on, and I think from the, you know, from the vantage point of somebody who's born and raised in the United States, there's so much that folks may not know. There are, in many cases, I think a lot of folks haven't had the opportunity. Truly, it's an opportunity to have in-person conversations with refugees and immigrants. I think we've talked about language a little bit as being a significant challenge and how long it takes to learn the language. And it's also really, you know, it's tricky, I think, sometimes for folks from this country who aren't used to sort of what I like to call Englishes, you know, a really broad array of ways of speaking English. It is a beautiful language, but it's spoken in so many ways. And I love hearing that, that there are many ways of trying to figure out how to make life anew in Iowa. And you've again touched on, and you work for the Catherine McCulley Center, and I want to touch on a little bit later how organizations do really important work. In our last conversation in December, we talked a little bit about the Catherine McCulley Center too, and the work they're doing there. And I don't want to dwell too much on the challenges, because I think in the United States, in many places, we dwell far too often in the challenges, as well as, and in many ways, the perceived challenges. But I don't want to leave anything out. Elizabeth, do you mind speaking for a moment too, building on perhaps what Rex has just shared? You know, what would you say people who are born and raised in the U.S., in Iowa in particular, perhaps, should know about their international neighbors? What would you like to tell folks? What do you wish folks had known?
Well,
what do you wish they do know now, not just back then, but now as well?
I guess it's just take a moment and welcome all the people that surround you, because we don't know them, we don't know all. They have different stories, and stories is a richness, smart wisdom that you can keep in going and talk to those people. So I really, that person that with one smile, I think I feel like welcome. So if you just go and say hi to your neighbor and want to learn more, just be open to be learning more about your neighbor or other people in the store, and you can be really friendly to people, and that makes a huge difference, I think, for anyone, especially in these moments with the pandemic that we have, that we cannot be congregated together for too long time, and it's just been a little crazy time, but I think it's possible that it would just kind of like the smile, hi, if you drop up your kids at school, just being friendly and welcome to anybody. I think everyone needs, now it's not only for immigrants and refugees, but I think everyone needs a smile and be in touch to each other. Today, these days it's very difficult, that really needs, we need to support to each to another one, no matter where you're from, where you come from, what you're doing here. I think it's just be welcome, but also just be aware that those people that they are not responding to your welcome is because they probably have some trauma. They come from other country. You don't know what the path they left there. So just be welcome anyway. They just be respect to them, as many challenge for refugees and immigrants and migrants. So that's like Greg said, we have already those challenges that if you make less heavy in our shoulders, I think it's just support them, support organizations, support, welcome the in the community, be open mind, respect. When I'm saying like welcome, it's just not like you don't have to go and knock the door if you don't need it or you don't want it. If you feel comfortable, welcome. But I think it's just with the one smile, they feel that they being access to somebody and feel affected by the community, kind of like, okay, I'm welcome here, I can be here. And that makes a little safe place for the immigrant community and refugees, as we faces a lot the barriers already, so we don't feel like sometimes it's the right place, or it's a safe place. So, and it's very difficult because sometimes we only looking to be accepted in the community, and that's when a lot of organization came, start bring the welcoming in, and people can support or individual organization like CWJ, the Worker Center. We have too many, like we are so lucky in Iowa that we have too many organizations that they speak their own language, that they speak their, they can be there and they can have time, culture, they can share stories. We are too many people and it's too many stories to hear. And it's about just enjoy time with every people. So that stories is able to share that up there, and people know and learn more about like people like us as refugees or immigrants. We have like challenge, but also a lot of opportunities that it's open in these times.
What a wonderful transition you just created there, Elizabeth. Thank you very much. And I want to move a little bit to organizations too, and talking about what organizations are out there. What kinds of work are they doing? Many of you work for, or you're connected with many of these organizations. So the newest Iowans do have unique needs, as you've all described, and they really vary. Are you in a larger city like Des Moines? Are you in a smaller location like Iowa Falls? I'm wondering if we can talk a little bit about how organizations across the state support individuals, immigrants, refugees, documented folks, undocumented folks, and maybe especially those without the sort of family or familial ties that we've been talking about that are so important. I'm thinking of state agencies. I'm thinking of local nonprofits, and maybe in some ways, I think also what you're saying too, Elizabeth, are ECBOs, by which I mean ethnic community-based organizations, which are organizations that are founded by, excuse me, and are led by predominantly folks who are refugees and immigrants themselves. So there's really a range of different kinds of organizations. Embark is one that is in Des Moines and Waterloo. They have a location in Marshalltown as well. Monsoon is another that's in Des Moines and Iowa City. NISA, again in Des Moines and Iowa City. The Refugee and Immigrant Association here in Iowa City. All examples of amazing ECBOs doing important work. maybe Ines, I can turn to you. As far as the kinds of things that organizations are able to do, what do you see as being the important function there? What we described it a lot of challenges, but also opportunities, and these organizations can help create opportunities. Am I right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. They are different ways and different kinds of organizations. Like, for example, here at the Bureau of Refugee Services, we are providing all important services that are mostly employment related, education related, job skills training, classes, interpretations for languages that we do have in our house, transportation, all these good things. But then a lot of things are not possible without these ECBOs, because they are the ones who know the community the best, because they are started by people of their own countries. You know, there is a good place to find a list of these ECBOs. It's on RASI website, which is now I can't remember what RASI stands for. I will remember it in a little bit. But they are—
You're talking about the Refugee Alliance?
The Refugee Alliance of Central Iowa, yeah. Yes, sorry about that.
Oh, look, there it is. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, for the link. But they do have a website and a page on all these ECBOs and how you can participate in that. But it is, I think, the main, the crucial part is that they are started, and they the people that work there are the people from those refugee communities, and they know. I mean, we can speak all we want, but I can't speak about Afghans just as much as Zalmai can, and I can speak about Congo just as good as Rex can. I mean, we can think we know, but the people who from their own communities do know the real issues and all this. And I also need to mention, we are touching base on needs of refugees and immigrants, and we often forget to mention mental health needs of communities. We need to remember that, especially the refugee community, the refugees are coming from war zones. I mean, from conflict zones. I mean, just leaving your home in a moment can be very traumatic, and especially if it's followed by other events that are also traumatic. So yeah, we need to be open. We need to be good listeners and learn from these newcomers. And as Elizabeth mentioned, the language is not always an obstacle. You know, there are ways to understand people, you know, even if you don't speak the same language. The good thing is, I mean, put yourself in their own shoes, share a meal with refugee or an immigrant, you know, do something that to hear and learn about their experiences. They are amazing people, they are survivors, and there are great organizations that are ready to serve them. So there are like state agencies, state agency, it's only one, and then there are resettlement agencies who are crucial in resettling, and these ECBOs who are the great helpers, and they have great programs, and really we could not do the work without them.
Yeah, you covered so much fabulous ground there, Ines. I love that you're here. Yes, and please do, for folks in the audience, please do check out the two links. One is from the University of Iowa. It gives a list of international organizations. One is from RASI, like Ines said. Thank you, Mark, for putting that in there. These organizations, they're in many ways a network. They know one another. They know the work that they're doing, and they serve a large cross-section of folks in our state, and all are doing incredible work. You're so right, Ines, about mental health. And I want to just point out really quickly that in our next conversation in this series next month, we are going to be talking about COVID-19, but we're going to be talking about health and wellness more broadly. We're going to be speaking about mental health. You're right. There is so much there. that we need to be thinking about. We're in the midst of a pandemic, and refugee and immigrant communities, especially those that have first come, that are new to the state, are really impacted. How does one move to the state? How does one feel connected to home, feel welcomed by community members when it's so difficult for any one of us to do that during a pandemic? I want to also point out, as I've done in previous sessions, a couple books, and we'll be sharing this throughout this series. The Displaced Refugee Writers on Refugee Lives is an incredible book. We're having conversations like this one, talking about the complexities, the nuances, the contradictions that are inherent in life, but also in the refugee and immigrant experience. Another, We the Interwoven. This is a 3-part anthology. There are 3 books all about Iowa, refugees and immigrants, and folks who are maybe grandkids of immigrants, talking about their own experiences. I want to turn to you, Rex. What are you seeing at the Catherine McCauley Center? Your work there is largely focused on employment. What does an organization like the Catherine McCauley Center, and perhaps others that you know of, do for folks that are trying to become employed in our state?
So yeah, we have in my department, we have a program that we call matching grants. So that is the first program we use to help refugees when they first arrive. So we are giving them some cash assistance from federal fund, and we are maybe paying the grant. And then at the meantime, I'm working with them to find employment. So I have a couple companies I'm connected with, we work with, and then I will be starting building the resume and start getting, connection with companies here around Cedar Rapids area. And then it's not easy because the first thing we are having as a challenge is language and transportation, because these guys cannot drive until they get the paperwork from driver license department, and then they don't have money, so they cannot buy cars. So we work with other companies that are around Cedar Rapids that provide transportation. We work with Iowa Workforce, we work with Care Code, and just trying to find the best option for each one of them. Like right now, we are experiencing a huge number of arrival from Afghanistan. And then so far, I put maybe, I can say around 50 people working at Whirlpool right now. And then we end up with Whirlpool to find a transportation, fix the transportation issue. So Whirlpool provide a bus that is just coming to the pickup point, get the folks and take them to work. But we still having more people that need job. So I'm just going and talk to other companies, but there is other companies that are not in Cedar Rapids area. You can have like Manchester, Dyersville, but it's far, and then the transportation issue is a big challenge. So that's what we do. And then once they start working and they become self-sufficient, then we can start with matching grant program, and then they can be on their own. And then if they need to change the job, or they need education, or they need something else, we always been there to help in either way. Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, what you just described there is really what we would all need moving to a new country, hoping that there would be organizations to support our efforts to become employed and to stay employed. And one thing that you noted, transportation, I have to imagine, is a real challenge, because many of us sort of believe, expect, know that in the United States, it can be very hard to get around if you don't have reliable transportation. And for folks who have had a car their whole life, may not really appreciate how difficult it is to get around, not only to get a job, but to keep that job, to go day after day. What happens if you're in a pinch? That's a real challenge, and it's wonderful to know that there are organizations that are doing the incredible work, such as Catherine McCulley Center and others. Again, take a look at that list, because there are many that are doing this work. Rex, without those services for folks in Cedar Rapids, this is sort of an unfair question, but what would that experience be like if there weren't organizations in a place like Cedar Rapids to assist folks in becoming, fully engaged new Iowans?
I can be honest with you, it'll be very difficult. It's just, for refugees, I can say they are even lucky because they have this organization around helping them. But for immigrants, it's tough, it's difficult. I can get my own experience. I was thinking to go back home. Being a second manager of a construction company, which was making enough money, and coming here and start working in a warehouse just after 1 month, and then nobody knows you there, and then they don't even care about you. You need just to do what they're asking you to do, and then you're getting the money, and you can't save anything on the money. You need to pay you need to pay your bills. You need to know how to drive in snow, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all. And but let's say for refugees, they stay in a refugees camp for so long, and some they didn't even had a chance to finalize with the education, and then they come here. They have kids. Some they have 6, 7, 10 kids. It's it's tough. It's very difficult, and then they need all the support from. And then we have a lot of good people around that they are helping. They are bringing the donation, in any kind of donation, so then we can be able to assist them in, assist them to settle, and to start getting, involved in the community, and then, being a part of the community in Iowa City, maybe also Cedar Rapids and around. Yeah.
Zalme, would you say that going to a smaller area of the state like Iowa Falls, it was very much your fellow community members, your neighbors, who supported you early on, and you've made an incredible employment for yourself. You have Z's handyman services, right?
Yeah.
What would you like as an individual coming to a more rural part of the state and getting started without some of the organizations that we've been talking about?
Yes, sir. I said earlier, that I've been very lucky that I had helps, and actually I got offered some help by different organizations, but what I have been told, and what the experience of other Afghans and other immigrants were, that never settle or never rely on the help from the organizations. This way you're not going to get any further in your life, and try to be motivated and try to work hard, forget who you were, and just start your new life as who you are, and trust yourself and believe in yourself. and try to prove it. And whatever obstacles are coming your way, you have to fight it, and there are ways to do that. And like Rex and our other fellows, they are doing an incredible job. And as an individual, we are seeing a lot of Afghan refugees and Afghan evacuees that been here, and I have some very uh, different experience with them. Like from Iowa Falls, I traveled to Des Moines and Cedar Rapids and many other areas that I was able to encode. I just do the things that I can, and I've been seeing a lot of different problems that they have. And I'm experiencing so many different things. Like as an individual, I have different ideas that how can we help these people to settle, and what are my personal experiences that I can share with them, that what are the things that can help you. And but there are a lot of obstacles in our way, that with the help of these organization and our general public, like Elizabeth said before, that we have to welcome these people. We have to have some sort of like awareness for the people, that these are the people. Like I'm talking about what we are seeing today. Like United States is a country that's made out of immigrants, but right now we have a lot of people that the world have seen, that we brought more than 100,000 in different states, and which Iowa is part of one of those. That if we just talk basically about our Iowa people, that we will see some different faces if we greet them with respect, and if we understand their problems, and if we are being patient with them, and if we can do some stuff with the organization that they're helping them, or with the individuals and families, that will really help. And just like I said, Iowa Nice, they've been doing an incredible job, but it's still not enough, and we all have to get together and make it better and proper. Like my experience with them is like we know that Iowa is cold, and I this last week, sir, I just traveled to many different counties and different places, and I have talked to several people, and I am gathering in my trucks and trailers. I gathering clothing, furniture, appliances, whatever I can find for the people that they have kids and families. Those are in my priority, that I can do something for them. Like their organization, like Rex said, that they've been doing some stuff, but then they have to do. But like coming to this country with nothing and starting all over, and it is really hard. And seeing people with 5 6 kids, and it is extremely hard, that they had a they had a nice living, or they had something, some normal lifestyle and whatever in their countries, and this is how the problem they have here. Or their other problems are language. And talk to a few of them, that what how far are you, or you did you apply for work, did you apply for, are you on track for to study the DOT and other relevant information. And if you talk to them, you will notice that he's not able to speak fluent their own native language, or they can't read and write their language. How will they be able to do something in English? So that is some obstacles that we have there. As a group of friends that I know that they're in many other states, we just took some we're working on it, but that's really hard, that to translate the Iowa DOT instruction into Dari and Pashto, that are native language of our Afghan people, that if we can translate to them. I was even deciding that to make something like a training course, something for our fellows, that if we can at least get them to the point that they know the signs and the some rules and traffic regulation and stuff like that, they will be able to support their families. And I helped a couple of my friends, now they're friends now, but they are the evacuees that came here, made them resumes and helped them to get in some jobs. And I got a call. I called him at 3 o'clock this last week, and he said I am getting ready to walk home, and it's an hour away from his where he lives, where he settled, to the job site, which Amazon. And I said, I will call or I will send an email to your employer that I am your reference, that he's not able to walk an hour. He's going to get killed in this terrible storm we had. And let's just wait till we figure something out for your, like, there are so many problems, but our organizations are doing great with them. And I really appreciate that as an Afghan and as an immigrant myself. And more power to you guys, and let's keep it going, and we'll be happy to do what I can.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. That's all, man. I want to key on a couple points you made. You started off by saying a little bit about, I think, what we might call some of the narratives about being American, and what it takes to be successful in the United States. The independence and self-reliance, kind of toughness. And how does that butt up against the realities, right? For folks who are coming from places around the world where those narratives don't exist, or they're quite different. And so folks come in perhaps with ideas about the United States, but are faced with the realities of being here. And you also pointed out, I think, really beautifully, the sort of interplay that's necessary between the individual and the community. How the strides that you're making to make Iowa a little better place. We can all be doing that, and organizations, you're right, are fabulous. They're doing incredible work. But what is it that as individuals we can be doing more of? Can we be supporting these organizations? Can we be doing a little bit more, like Elizabeth said, to smile and say hello to our neighbors? Maybe to start a small conversation at the schoolyard if we have kids and we're dropping them off. It all comes together in a beautifully complicated picture. So I don't want to leave any final thoughts out, because I want to turn to our audience to see if we have any questions. We've had a really rich conversation, and you've offered us so much. Is there anything, just very briefly, that we've left out? Is there anything that you would like folks here to know? Is there anything really important you think we haven't touched on before we turn to our audience for questions?
I would like just to say that as far as I know, we all immigrants, we all from somewhere. And then we need just to support each other, and then getting, like you just said, we need to ask questions to people what they need. If you can provide for any help, it's welcome to them or to the agency, so we can, assist these people to zero and then to be a part of the community. For employment, I mean, sometimes it become hard because for many issues or challenges we are having, people can lose their job, and when they lose their job, we need to find another job. It might be far from Cedar Rapids, and then those challenges are huge, and then we're trying as best as we can, to face them. That's all I wanted to add.
Yeah, and during pandemic times as well. Yeah. Any final notes before I turn to the audience? Elizabeth, Enos, Salome?
Yes, sir. The one thing I would like to say, that we have a good amount of participants there, and they're all can be ambassadors in their villages and their counties and their hometown, or even in their blocks, that they these peoples that are here, they came with nothing, and anything can help them. Like I've been collecting so many different things from them. And if they, like, there are some thrift stores or Goodwills or some garage sales and stuff like that. If they are thinking like, if they spread the word that these are the people that they can use anything that they don't need or anything that they want to get rid of or stuff like that, and just spread the, not beside their needs, just to educate them that who these peoples are and what are their intentions and how are they going to settle in this. And if they have any problem, if they share it with the concerned departments or to some peoples, and just just offer them help that they like, that they get motivated in staying in Iowa and starting their life with many different obstacles that they're having. Like, I know some of these people that they're here that they they don't know anything about Iowa. Like, most the Afghans, all they heard about is California or Virginia or Texas. The reason they chose and the reason they are talking about this, that's where most the group of population are there, and they are feeling comfortable. Like Elizabeth said, that California was more comfortable because they could speak Hispanic and the language wasn't much of a burden for them. Because, and same as these Afghans are having more people, more different groups of Afghans in there, that life is easy for them while they're here, and our organizations are processing their papers that to get them on track to start their new life. We have to welcome them and we have to appreciate their existing in our communities, and we help if we can, and be supportive of our refugees and immigrants or evacuees.
Thank you, Zelmer. Elizabeth?
Yeah, I just want to reinforce. I think he do very well to explain, but I think what people also can do, just like be response. Any organization when they ask for support, if you respond right away, be easy for organizations that we work a lot with in the community, with the community all together. I think it's not only the organization, it's the base is people who want and willing to help, to support, and respond to those needs. If we say we need, it's because it's not only I need, it's the community needs. And if they need, like, if furniture, so whatever they can do, even time. I know it's very difficult times right now with COVID, but you can learn and a lot from those families, for those people. It's a lot. Stories that you can get from them. So it's just about educating ourselves. Read books like you just offer. That's kind of like another way to educate it. So that can get you to advocate for those people. We need more advocate peoples that they can help and support the family, and just spread the love. I think just love to what you do. And if you feel that you need to be a board member and get involved with any organization, I think that's because even if we are different organization, we need one to another one. Again, as a bigger congregation or organization, we need to each other so we can have more better communication and reinforce that we can do together a lot of stuff. So I think it's Iowa, it's big support, but we need response, advocate, and just spread the love. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Ines?
Yeah, I really agree with everything my other presenters said, totally. I just want to add that refugees are humans. Number one, they are survivors. They overcame countless obstacles to come to United States, spend years and years waiting to enter United States. They are a resource, and we can utilize them to enrich a lot of parts of our societies. They're not burden at all. They are here to enrich us. So open your hearts and ears for anything, any needs, and you will be grateful.
You all are amazing. Okay. Thank you to each of you. We now move to the question and answer portion of our program, albeit a short one. Please submit your questions via the chat function at the bottom of your viewing screen. Feel free to turn on your video function, but do remember to keep yourself muted if you would. While we're waiting for questions to come in, the ICFRC wants to thank its members and donors for their support. If you would like to join ICFRC or make a gift to support our project on refugees and immigrants in Iowa, please go to icfrc.org. Thank you. Please do add your questions into the chat box. I think we have one here already. Okay. Does anyone know about the Sponsor Circle program? Is there something that any of the four of you are familiar with? I do know a little bit about this myself. It's a very new thing.
I do not.
Okay. The Sponsor Circle program, yes, it's sort of an inspired way for communities to sponsor individual refugees. I don't have the link in front of me right now, but the Sponsor Circle program is being endorsed by the US government as a way for individuals within their communities, organizations to make a difference. And it involves people coming together, creating a proposal, and coming up with, it's a few $1,000s per individual that will be sponsored. And then submitting this proposal to the Sponsor Circle program organizers in an effort to many hands make light work. So do, if you have a chance, check out the Sponsor Circle program. There's a certain number of individuals, I want to say it's at least 5, need to come together to create this proposal and demonstrate how they can follow through on that proposal. Another question, what are funded programs such as SNAP benefits, if any, available for immigrants and or refugees to address their basic needs, things like food, shelter, etc.? How accessible are other kinds of support for these needs? I wonder if maybe Rex or Enos, are you able to address this one?
Well, the federally funded programs, SNAP and FIP, are all available for refugees and Afghan SIVs. They are there for them to use. Depending on the family situation, they can be used for either 8 months or up to 60 months in a lifetime. Rex, do you want to add something?
No, that's right. Yes, the food stamp is available for them to use. So, yeah.
And I see that folks have been putting in thank you to Mark Sucheska, Sally Hartman, and Enos. You did too. Links there, specific information about sponsor circles. It is a way to do more. We've talked a lot in this conversation about ways that you can support local organizations. This is a way that you can come together as individuals living in wherever you are living to support refugees. So that's fabulous. We have just a few more minutes. Are there any questions amongst the group? Anything else that you would like to know? And that's okay if you don't. We have filled you with lots of information. And I could not more wholeheartedly, full-throatedly endorse what each one of you said, particularly in your final remarks. A big part of what we are hoping to do with this series is inform, is to create a space wherein folks from around the state can hear directly from the experts, all of you, individuals who are refugees and immigrants, and individuals who work with refugees and immigrants. We are, as you all pointed out, trying to make Iowa a better place for all of us, not just for particular individuals, but we are better when we're all better together. So why don't we leave it there? We now conclude our program. I want to give a big thank you to Elizabeth Bernal, to Ines Pachuvic Jasarovic, to Rex Malamba, and to Zalmay Niazi for their truly wonderful presentations, for your comments, for your information, and for sharing your expertise with us today. Elizabeth, Ines, Rex, Zalmay, I am honored to virtually present each of you with ICFRC's highly coveted mug for coffee, tea, or the beverage of your choice. We will coordinate delivery details with you very soon. ICFRC's next program is on Wednesday, February 9th. Oh, sorry, I'm jumping ahead, aren't I? That's the next in our Refugees and Immigrants series. But please join us for ICFRC's next session. We meet most weeks. So next week, Wednesday, 12 noon via Zoom, the program will focus on how students gain international experience when study abroad is unavailable. And it will feature Professor Aaron Johnson and several university students. I got a bit ahead of myself here. The next program in our Refugee and Immigrant series is on Wednesday, February 9th, examining, as I noted previously, how COVID-19 has impacted refugees and immigrants, and we'll talk more broadly about health, wellness, including mental health. So thank you for joining us today, and we are adjourned.